Hey, our Watch, Jessica Tapia here. Today I have in Gabrielle. She is that Patriot mom on socials, so many of you might follow her. I love following her, and her latest video is really why we asked her to come in and share this story with you guys. It is simultaneously hilarious and horrific, but paints the picture as to exactly what's happening in public education today, and really with our youth and this just mental health crisis that they are in for a few reasons, I believe. But Gabby, thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So go ahead and tell us about this situation. It happened last week, right?
Yes, it happened the end of last week. Basically horrific enough. We have crossed into the realm of having to deal with children not only that think they're a different gender, but now that think they are a different species. And children are now being expected to
treat them as such.
Okay. And then they get in trouble for actually treating them as such.
Wow.
So basically what happened was my daughter just graduated elementary, so this is a brand new school for us. Never had to deal with anything like this in elementary school, where everything was still innocent. Brand new principal, vice principal that we've never, interacted with. So these girls have been in a group chat, her and her friends, and one of the girls in the group chat that they weren't really close with apparently started identifying as a furry. So last week she wanted to be known as a wolf, apparently. And then she began actually communicating with them with animal sounds instead of actual words. So one of the girls in the chat said, "If you don't stop, I'm going to call animal control on you," which I think is a fair response if you want to be treated like an animal.
Right.
And then another girl said something along the lines of having concern that she may indeed bring rabies to school, which another valid concern if you are an animal. And, we are so concerned about infectious diseases being spread on school campuses. So this was unbeknownst to me. I did not know this conversation took place. But I got a frantic call from one of the moms that the girls in the chat were being pulled out of class and being accused of bullying this girl. And apparently she was crying on campus, so they were accused of bullying. So beyond the obvious concerns about this situation, there's concerns with how the faculty treated these girls when they were brought in, encroaching on their rights. They, without any parental knowledge or consent, took their phones, took pictures of the conversation. Then, without contacting the majority of the parents, they only contacted one of the parents, started forcing them to delete the text conversation. They told them, if you delete this text conversation and leave this group chat and never join another group chat, we won't tell your parents.
Here we go with the secrecy again.
Exactly. Which, and if you were actually concerned about bullying, if you really thought these girls were bullying, what better way to rectify the situation than bring the parents in and have a conversation about it? So the fact that they wanted to withhold this from parents tells you everything that you need to know.
Yes.
Because they know they're not in the right for doing what they just did.
Exactly.
So not only did they make them delete the messages, then if you have an iPhone, there's a permanent delete section. They then had them go into the permanent delete and delete all the evidence of what they actually said. So then the parents not only wouldn't know, but if they tried to, somehow found out and tried to go see what the conversation actually entailed, they have no way to do so. Luckily, we had an iPad that had, the backup of the conversation.
Good. Okay.
And then disturbing beyond that is that some of the girls' parents were not notified at all that they had even been pulled into the office, their phones had been gone through, that things were deleted, what the situation was at all. So I had to, notify some of the parents, and they had zero clue what was going on at the school with their children.
Well, thank you for notifying them, because this is the issue that we're seeing like on the forefront right now is this secrecy. And I think you hit the nail on the head with they're keeping it secret because they know in their heart that it's wrong.
Right.
To keep it from parents. They know in their heart, I believe, that it's wrong to play along with all of this I can be whatever I want to be theory thing that we're seeing like take over the schools, because schools notify parents about everything under the sun. I mean, I just interviewed a mom and she was like, my child had a hydro flask like fall and hit her on the top of the head. Like the school was immediately on it to let me know.
Right.
But yet they're not telling me that there's the opposite sex entering her locker room.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's just like, how do they come up with what they will and won't tell parents?
Right. There's no consistency.
I mean, I guess I can kind of answer my own question in that, and maybe you have something to say in regards to this. But so in our community right now, there's a girl entering the boys' locker room at a middle school. And parents are finding out slowly but surely, and they're showing up to the school board and they're saying, why is there no transparency on this? I get 24 emails from you in a month, and I didn't know that I should have had a conversation with my son about the fact that he might be walking into this.
Yeah.
And the
absolutely.
school's response is that there's privacy around, a student with gender identifying, whatever you call it. And so that's why they can't inform.
It's insane.
It's just like, we need to figure this out.
We already know this, but with each escalating situation and now involving furries, it's that these children with, I'm assuming, underlying mental health issues.
Absolutely.
That adults are placating and feeding into, and these therapists are too, which I have personal experience with. They're just making the situation worse. And now they're the protected class.
Yes.
Not
exactly
our children.
Right.
And I mean, to not even be notified to, even if you are a parent, that it's okay with having that discussion with your child of how to handle that.
Yeah.
Or I know it's going on at the high school in the district is, if I end up sending my child there, maybe I want to opt out and have her change in a private facility. So to not even have that option ahead of time before they're confronted with this issue is just insanity, and it's not okay. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. So I trying to get myself to call it what I believe it really is, which are, everyone usually refers to it as transgender policies, or like for myself, I had transgender directives put on me where it was like, you go back to work and you follow these now to a T, or you lose your job.
Sure.
And I really feel that they're actually transgender special rights.
Yeah.
Because it's a special right to not be, a male, but get to enter the male's facility because you believe that day that that's what you are, or that's what you want to be.
Right.
So really it's special rights. And like you said, now we're seeing them be the protected class. And it's
Well,
it's
our
so
rights
evil.
don't end where there's quote unquote
where your fantasies begin.
Yeah, and
exactly.
then I mean, even in most people wouldn't. My husband and I shared this story in our community. We're extremely like supportive of, because I'm supporting these girls. I don't think there's anything wrong with what their reaction was, because to me that's just affirming. If you want to act like an animal, you're going to, you might be treated like an animal. And if we want to get into the nitty gritty of it, what's the school policy for animals on campus? You wouldn't even be allowed. You would be caged. You would be leashed. I mean,
exactly.
Let's
so it's
be
like,
real.
if we're going to go here.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go
here.
Let's go
You
all
want
the
to
way.
be treated that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we plan on pointing that out with the school. And some people took issue with that. Well, you're condoning bullying, this and that. It's like, you're not understanding. We're not going after the child. We're going after the school
and how they're handling it.
Logical fallacies. So
exactly.
And I didn't mention this, but one of the moms on the phone it turned out to be the acting vice principal, which is wild to me that she would take it that far as she's substituting in for the day. When the mom said, referred to this girl as a she actually corrected the mother and said, no, we're not going to call her she.
What?
So she's forcing these other the sixth graders to affirm that she's an animal. So you can't have it both ways. They're putting us in a catch-22 where there's no winning.
Right.
So all we're doing is trying to hold the school accountable and say, okay, well, if you want it this way, then it's going to be this way. Can you show the rabies vaccines? Can you, what is their policy for, using the restroom? Like there's so many different things. What's your on-campus policy? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So there was, some people even in our community that were like, you're condoning bullying, this and that. And that's actually one question I would have for you as a former educator is like, where do we draw the line with what is bullying?
Exactly.
Because to me, that's not bullying. That's actually just dealing in reality.
Yeah, right. Well, in the way that the girls responded, they technically responded in the way that society and the school system is asking teachers and students to respond to, identifying people, which is in affirmation.
Right.
And I don't see any bullying in what they did. I see actually them affirming her for what she's wanting to be at the moment.
Right.
And the thing is that where the issue lies is that little girl doesn't actually want to be that.
Exactly.
And she didn't realize that until her peers started actually treating her as such. And so now she's taking it as bullying because she wasn't prepared to be treated like
a dose of reality. And
so really I'm hoping that in the way that, the girls handled it kind of gave her a reality check. And hopefully, she snaps out of that. And it's so sad too. I was just talking to Pastor Tim about this. We are not looking at like the underlying root issue of these kids when they are wanting to be referred to as something else. And I posted, I think last week, and I'm like, this story has got to get out. It was just an anonymous story on a Conservative Teachers of America page on Facebook that I love following. And this little girl, she's the only girl in her family, grew up with, a bunch of boys, and all of a sudden, wanted to transition and did like start looking like and acting like a boy. And the parents were like, okay, we're not going to affirm this. We're going to send you to therapy, send you to counseling. Praise the Lord. Well, in that, it came out she was being molested by her grandfather. And so that was her protection mechanism, was to become a boy because she thought if she became a boy,
then she would be desired.
And I'm just like, how horrific.
Yeah, there's many stories
how
like that.
How horrific. There is many.
But praise that therapist for actually getting to the root cause.
Yes.
Because especially in the state of California, that is not the case.
Yes.
Typically, they just compound and then the situation just escalates.
Which is not doing their job at all in my eyes as a therapist. In the same way that I don't think teachers are doing their job either.
Right.
If they're
supposed
not
to be protecting
teaching the truth and protecting students and keeping parents in the loop. We're taught an education triangle, which is the student at the top and then parents and teachers. And we just work, simultaneously, nothing blocking either connection there. So anyways, I feel like we could talk forever, but thank you so much for sharing that story, and most of all for alerting everyone in your community, because right now we just have to use our voice in this warfare and just share what we know.
Yeah. And I got accused that this was fake too. You're just making this up for attention. It's like, you're
like, I couldn't make this up if I tried.
I know. If you told me we were having this conversation a few years ago,
right,
and then it would be controversial whether to affirm these kids or, or hold these schools accountable, I would have said you were crazy.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly,
not in my worst nightmare could I make this up, I promise.
Exactly. I spoke at our local Stop the War on Children rally, and that's literally how I opened. I was like, if 2 years ago you told me or asked me about this war on children, I probably would have looked at you funny.
Yeah.
But then that war came to my door when my job was on the line if I didn't do their form of protecting students, which I knew in my heart was not actually protecting students. So yeah, the war is very, very real. Okay, so where can our viewers follow and support you?
You can find me on all major social networks under @thatpatriotmom, but I tend to spend most of my time on Instagram.
Same here. That's where I found you. So
Yes, that's where we found each other.
Yes, exactly. Okay, awesome. All right, our watch. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did and are informed of what could literally be happening at your child's school too. But most of all, let's be so vigilant with what our kids are being exposed to, getting ideas from, because that idea came from somewhere for that little girl, and I'm hoping and praying that she snaps out of it and realizes that she was made on purpose for a purpose as the girl that she is today. So thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.